Fill your thirst beside the river. Wash the journey from your hands. Feel the comfort flow inside you. Come this far, you understand. Fear's not allowed, where dreams can be lost or found.
Hello and welcome to Healing Outside the Box. This is our 31st show. My name is Traci Crampton and I'm an energy practitioner.
And my name is Rosemary Lachance and I'm a Reiki energy healer.
We are the producers and hosts of this thought-provoking series on alternative healing and spirituality. Our show informs you of the many options in healthcare available to you so you can make informed decisions on harmonizing your body, mind, and spirit. As we've discussed in our previous show, we would like to take the opportunity first off to discuss some of our viewers' questions. And the question we have for you tonight has been asked not only by some of our viewers, but also by some of our clients. And that is, it's mentioned in several shows how we create our illnesses with our thinking. Does this mean that we should feel guilty for our illness? And what about our children who get sick or people born with disabilities? Are they to blame for their situations? Now, this is a very thought-provoking question because, we are learning more and more about the power of our thoughts and their effects on our body. But I think that there's more to consider when we answer this question. Mm-hmm. Don't you think
yes,
so, Rosemary?
Very much.
There's a lot of layers.
Yes, there is. Karma is one of them. If you believe in reincarnation, karma is actually you choosing what you want to learn this lifetime. So if you come into this lifetime sick or disabled or have a lot of situations happen to you that are not good and you go, oh my God, hardships, yeah. Remember this, you're brave.
Yes,
think of yourself as being very brave because you picked it to do it and to learn it. So you shouldn't feel guilty.
And some people have a misunderstanding about karma, in my opinion, that karma means some kind of retribution or punishment, that we've sowed these seeds and perhaps we've made bad choices in our last life, and so now we're repenting in this life. And I choose to believe that karma is something we choose. Like from a higher perspective, after we leave this life, we say, okay, perhaps this is a lesson I need to work on more in my next life, so I'm going to choose this role so that I can play this part and learn that lesson well. So it's more of an experience, I believe, that we choose to learn lessons so we can keep evolving and growing, as opposed to being punished for some deed we did last time.
Right, there's no such thing as punishment.
Yeah.
All right, God doesn't punish. There's no punishment, so you can just wipe that off your slate.
Right.
No punishment. It's all up to us to learn. That's all it is, learning experiences.
And that would take into consideration people who've had, being born with an illness or children who've, passed away. It may not even be that we chose this role for our own lessons, but we are part of a dynamic. We're within groups of people, and our experiences are teaching the people around us too. So I think that sometimes we pick a life of self-sacrifice so that we can teach others how to embrace their lives more fully or learn their lessons. So that's another layer, I believe.
Right, because with children, they'll come sometimes for just a very short period of time because they only had to work out some little thing, and maybe also they want to help the parents to learn something from their passing, and though it's so horribly, just I can't even say the word.
And it's hard to see it as a gift, but
it is
if we grow through it, if we learn something from the experience, if we continue to evolve, then it ultimately is a gift. Well, the other thing is,
once in a while too, we do take on a karma or from another person.
Oh,
collective consciousness.
Right,
we
collective
do that
consciousness
also.
Is the other thing we wanted to talk about, and that's basically our empathic side, how we are sponges for the energies around us. So if you're in a group of people, or even if you're affected by the news, the media, etc., you're taking on this energy of the masses, the families, the friends that you're in contact with, your colleagues, your co-workers, the wars that you hear about, and you're taking it in, and it's not maybe necessarily your original thoughts that are affecting your health, but it's this consciousness, this pool of energy that's around us, always having an impact on us.
Like I notice, I work with the elderly, and they don't mean to, but when you come around them and you're younger, they kind of drain your energy. They kind of pull it out from you. And so if you're really, really tired, or you start to get depressed, that can happen.
And I think a lot of people are more sensitive. And actually, that if that's developed, that can become a great skill if you're sensitive to the energy around you. But you also have to learn how to stay grounded and release that energy and always cleanse it and protect yourself, so that you don't physically start manifesting illnesses and injuries, etc.
And we have to try to keep our thoughts positive.
Yep.
Because there is even scientific evidence that negative thoughts adversely affect our bodies and prevent healing and regeneration of our cells.
Absolutely. And I think we're going to have on some future experts on this subject. I know I myself, I do some muscle testing with my clients to show them how their thoughts are affecting their physical muscle strength. And it's such an easy thing to do, to demonstrate to them what the power of their thoughts has on their body.
Has on their body, exactly. So I hope that answers your question.
Yes.
And just remember, take the word guilt and just wipe it out of your memoir, because
it's not about blame.
No blame, no punishment, no guilt.
It's all about learning and growing.
Exactly. Okay.
So I hope that answers questions. Maybe it provokes some more, so we'd be happy to hear.
Sure, we sure would. All right, now on with the show. Tonight's show is called Alternative Addiction Healing. And we have with us tonight Larry Webb. Hi, Larry.
Hi, how are you?
So nice to have you on our show.
Pleasure.
Let me tell you a little bit about Larry. Larry's deep understanding of addiction is both experimental as well as academic. His personal healing was instantaneous, and he has been able to translate this to others. Larry has been a drug and alcohol clinician here in the state of Connecticut. With a 13-year study of spirituality combined with ancient healing practices, Larry has developed and is the founder of Insight Alternative Addiction Healing. The use of meditation, Ho'oponopono, and Safa, and vibrational alignment techniques are just some of the tools that Larry uses to unveil the true secret of healing.
Fabulous.
And so our first question, which we usually open with, is how did you get into this kind of work?
Well, very much like a lot of people do. You're living your life along and you're trying to figure it all out. And one day you find yourself trapped in some sort of a bad addiction. And you're there. And you don't know how you got there. You're just there. And you realize that your life is spinning out of control. And I found myself there. And from there, it was pretty much, okay, this is where I am. Is this my life? Is it all about this? And I found myself asking myself that question. And the answer was always there for me. It was like, no, there's something more that you're looking for in your life. So that's where it began for me.
So you having experienced it yourself
Absolutely.
made you become a teacher.
Yes.
Because we really can't teach what we haven't been through ourselves. Right, Tracy?
I agree.
I find it very hard
To have that level of compassion and connectedness to the subject, to the matter. It's hard to do that without the experience.
I agree. And it's been, your opening question, you were talking about, the whole thing about guilt. And that's what you find in addiction all the time is guilt. Really lots and lots of guilt. And you have to, acknowledge that that's just part of your life and embrace it also. That's part of your life. So it's not really about that was a bad thing that happened in my life, because without it, you don't get to where you are now.
Right.
So.
What part does meditation play in the...
Meditation is very important because you'll find in a lot of treatment, people go to many treatment programs. It could be 19, 20, 3, whatever it is, and they kind of go looking for a magic wand. That someone's going to hit you with this magic wand and fix your problem for you. And the answer is within. So meditation is so important because you slow down and you bring yourself back within yourself, and that's where your answers are. So that's why meditation is so important.
So you teach them.
Absolutely.
Maybe you can give us like an idea of how do the people come to you? You had told us briefly before about how you met some of the people, what you did at night, and how you know.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
You have some great stories
like
to share. So, I don't know if we should talk about that now, or we should ask him these questions that we so want to ask him. But I think it might be a good idea to talk about that, so we know how the people come to you, and then you work with them. So how does it work, and what kind of addictions do they come with, and so forth and so on?
I found myself at a time, my very first client was myself, of course,
Yes.
and it was like
Patient heal thyself.
yeah, and the methods that I found and I used were the ones that worked for me. And I always say to any groups I ever have, everyone is on their own journey, and they always want to know, well, how do you heal? And I always say, there's only one way. It's your way, and your way, and your way, and your way.
Absolutely.
So that's basically how it works. And for me, it was this search of myself, always knowing that this wasn't the way my life was intended to go. So I very simply started to look within. I started getting quiet. I was already up partying at 4 o'clock in the morning, so that was very easy for me. It wasn't a stretch to be out in the streets at 4 o'clock in the morning. But I created this little card. I healed myself, and I said, well, if I can do that, then anybody could do it. And I basically made a little card, and I would drive around at 4 o'clock in the morning in the streets of our cities here in Connecticut and just pass out my little card and sit and talk to people and say, if you ever want to change your life, there's a way here for you.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
To do that.
Wow.
Wow. That is terrific. How does your response? Yeah, I bet you give a lot of cards out, but
I probably gave out about 500 cards before I got any responses.
Oh, wow.
A lot of people thought that I was crazy.
yeah.
But it slowly turned around where the phone started ringing. The phone just kept ringing, and I started finding clients, and it became word of mouth. And
That's great.
yeah, it was awesome. It's an
Now,
awesome
do you do a
experience.
class with many people, or you do one-on-one? Or both?
I do both.
Okay.
I do both. I started out just doing one-on-one, just for approximately about 10 years straight of just doing that, and then I went back to school. And then after school, I just went back to doing one-on-one. And while I was in school and working as a clinician, I would do groups. So right now, I am currently doing groups and one-on-ones.
Fabulous. And the training that you received, did you receive that while you were going through the addictions to help yourself? The trainings,
That's
or
a
is
great
that
question.
sort of an evolution that
That's a great
happened
question.
before and after?
There was always a knowing within me that there had to be a different way. I was told, one evening, I was so in such a bad place. Crack cocaine was my friend at the time, and you wouldn't go anywhere without it. So I had lived this life of that, and found myself at 4 o'clock in the morning with my heart just pumping out of my chest. So I drove to a hospital, and the hospital was kind of like closed down pretty much. And I was in the valley at the time, and I asked for help. And they said, well, there's nothing we can do here tonight, but this is on a Saturday. But on Monday, you can take this card and call this number. And I was like, Monday?
Wow. Monday.
I need it now.
Strike when
If
the
you can
iron
help
is
me
hot
now,
yet.
Right.
in an hour from now, I'm going to be back on the street doing the same thing again.
Wow.
So that's where it really kind of snapped in. And I said, well, if there isn't a place I can go right now, I'll create one. And that's basically how it started.
Wow.
So they can get in touch with you anytime, day or night.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's-
My phone rings at all times.
Wonderful. That's what a dedication. That's wonderful.
It's a passion. It's a love. I know why I went through that to actually do this, and it's my life purpose.
Wow.
That's wonderful. How long does it take to heal an addiction?
That's a great question, and I've been asked it many times. And from my experience, people always think that you're in programs for a long period of time. It takes this long period of time, and you have to go through all these steps and get there. And actually, it's an instant. When a person decides and changes their mind, it's
In that instant.
In that instant, it changes.
Really?
It's when you make that decision. So that's the actual time period that it takes to actually
Do you
change an
think that
addiction.
it takes longer to unravel your habits and all of that? I know that, there's been periods in my life too where I'm like, okay, I've decided this, and I have decided it, but the habits are still there, and I'm still pushing forth through those habits.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's changing your mind and changing your habits. It's
Yeah.
reprogramming. So my work basically is retraining and programming anybody. You
Okay.
program yourself, and you have to just change your thoughts. You were talking about being positive.
right.
Turning your negative thoughts into positive thoughts. There's too many programs right now that are really set in based on guilt and shame.
Yes.
You're damaged goods, and that was always my passion. I was like, I'm not
It
damaged
didn't
goods.
sound right
I'm
to
still,
you. Yeah.
I'm still a good person, and it's in here somewhere. So it's getting back to that and rebuilding from there.
Wow.
So that statement, once an addict, always an addict, what does that mean, and is that true, and how would you...
Well, I'd have to say it's true, because if you wake up every single day and you say to yourself that I'm an addict, well, 20 years from now when I meet you, you're probably
You're
going to be
an
an addict. So
It's the victim mentality.
absolutely, absolutely.
You've labeled yourself as that, so you become that, and everything
Absolutely.
about you revolves around that.
One of the greatest lines I've ever heard was in the movie Empire Strikes Back, and it was Yoda. And Luke Skywalker was trying to do something, and he said, there is no try. There's either do or do not.
Right.
And
Wow, that is a great line.
That sits up on my office wall.
That's a great line.
Because that is it. It's a choice. You either do it or you don't. And once you make the choice, everything else, and you get in
The whole
alignment with
universe lines up.
everything
with
lines
it.
up with what you want to do.
Wow, that's really
So true.
great. That's really great. Well, I've heard it said, like, in alcoholism, you're an alcoholic. You're an alcoholic all your life, meaning that you can't not drink. You cannot have one drink. What did I say? One is 1,000 or something.
Something like that.
Yeah. Is it the same way with drugs? Same thing, right?
Pretty much with any drug, basically, it kind of works the same way.
Same way.
And it's really finding a balance with yourself. You often hear people say that everybody's doing abstinence, and there's no drugs, but coffee's drugs, cigarettes are drugs. I mean, they're all drugs. So you're not. So you're kind of lying to yourself by saying I'm being abstinent and I'm drug free.
Right.
We're in a drug society.
Right. Sometimes it's in our drinking water. And
Exactly.
We had that on a show. We
Those
talked
pills
about
that are being
Exactly.
flushed.
So it's that whole mindset is to be very honest with yourself and be very truthful with yourself.
Right.
We make up these, I call it woundology, that I've.
Oh, that's a good term.
Woundology?
People that talk in woundology.
Woundology.
Yes. And they're-
W-O-U-N-D.
Carolyn
Okay.
Mace calls it that.
I want to make sure
basically.
the audience knows what
Yes.
that is. Woundology.
Woundology. Yeah.
Okay.
You'll meet someone and they'll tell you all their faults
Yeah.
within 5 minutes, and you just met them. And that's just it becomes their language.
Yeah, they wear it.
Ah, woundology. Okay, I like that word.
You can take just like the most simple phrase, like one day at a time. And for someone who's an addict, they think that that's a building block. That's one day at a time. You're right. You have to take it one day at a time. Like you're damaged goods, and no one else takes one day at a time. Oprah Winfrey takes one day at a time.
Yeah, everybody should. I mean,
Everyone
that's about
does.
being
So
in
it
the
takes a-
moment. That's
I take
about
one day at a
being
time,
present.
Yeah. So it
Even,
takes you out of that
I break
category.
it down even smaller than that. Some days the day is too long. Right?
Yeah, that's right.
Exactly. So it's like changing. I listen to people, and I listen to the way that they talk. And you were saying earlier about how you think. The way you think is what you line up with. And thoughts are things, and it manifests into things. So yeah, you have
Exactly.
to. Meditation brings us back to that place of understanding what you're thinking about. And then, of course, when you use the word meditation, everybody says, "Well, I can't do it because my mind's crazy," which is what should be happening.
So how does that work? I mean, do they Are you pretty successful getting them to meditate?
Absolutely.
Well, that's great.
Absolutely. You would never think that you would have a group of 15 people sitting in a room that are all different, have different afflictions. And some are on medication, some are on methadone and stuff like that. And they're going to sit in a room with you. And you're going to get them to sit there for 20 minutes and be quiet with their eyes closed.
That's
and
great.
they do. And it's just amazing.
I heard this being done in prisons too. What type of meditation is it? Where it's like 700 hours of meditation. They just sit in meditation for like 12 hours a day.
Wow, that's
And
good.
just how incredible it is, to learn how to still the mind.
It's
And
remarkable
it is.
to
It
watch.
doesn't. People need to know that. Yeah, it doesn't happen right away.
Right. Right away you get that
Busyness.
little monkey running around through your head. And basically, it's your mind doing what it always does. They say we have 66,000 thoughts a day.
Wow, no wonder.
95% of them are the thoughts you had yesterday and the day before.
Why? Right. And so we're recreating
Exactly.
our reality
Exactly.
every day.
Now, they
Exactly.
come there
So-
completely of their own free will, right?
Yes.
Okay, it's not like the state or someone says you have to take this or do this. They come of their own free will.
When I was doing groups, basically, and I was working as a clinician, they were court ordered there, so
Okay.
they had to be there. And we sat in a room, and I just said, "Would you like to learn meditation, real meditation?" And they said, "Yeah, that's what we thought we were doing here." So I took them through steps of different types of meditation, and at first it was chaos, and then slowly but surely they started to get it. They started to get it. And when you heard a door close or someone talking outside the room, it didn't bother them anymore.
Yeah.
I had one lady say to me, how do you expect me to meditate when I just took methadone? And now you expect me to sit here and meditate? And the answer to that is when you learn to meditate, it doesn't matter what you took.
Right.
Your consciousness will rise above that.
Rise above it. Yeah.
That's right. That's very true, yes.
So how long do you usually run a group to help them learn the techniques of meditation? Is there any standard time?
There's no standard time. Everybody's different.
Okay.
Everybody's different. The people that really want to get it really fast stay the longest.
Okay.
You know, the ones that simplify it, it's very fast. It's very, very fast.
Okay.
It's very fast. Always people ask me about success. Do you have success? Absolutely. And the success that I really look at are the people that take a moment. They get it right away. And you're done with them,
Something flips.
basically.
I always
Yeah.
say that. I'd rather you hear these stories about oh, the light switch flipped. My life hasn't been that way. It's been kind of a couple steps up, one step down, but
What do they
I
tell
think
you?
you can heal in an instant.
Yeah, when they come, I mean, to make that decision, it's hard. I mean, I've known alcoholics who would not admit it for a long time. Some did finally and got the help. Other ones went to the point where they were almost dead, and they turned it around. But when they come to talk to you, what do they say? Like, I'm had it. What is their opening statement when they come to see you? What makes them make that decision?
Usually what I do is I have a free consultation. And during my free consultation, they're allowed to sit there and tell me whatever they want. And then after the free consultation, we stop talking about their addiction. And we start talking about what they want out of their life. Because the more you talk about what they don't want, you get more of it.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree.
You activate it in your system. The more you talk about your addiction, it's going to just keep going around and around. So I spend very little time speaking about addiction itself, and build up the person from who they are, what are they passionate about. Even if they don't have any passion,
Right.
you know what they don't want, so you start there. And so I spend very little time talking about
And
addiction.
you have to help them build that image of a better self, or a more improved, or bringing out those inner qualities that have been buried, as opposed to all these trials and tribulations. I try and limit when I have clients to try and limit their sagas. I say, okay, thank
Yeah.
you, I got it, wrap it up.
Yeah,
Okay,
me
now
too.
moving on.
Yeah, you don't want to dwell on that.
No.
But
A lot of times I'll take someone and just say to them, listen, we're sitting here in Connecticut, and if you and I got dressed up, flew to California, we sat in a room, who would know who you are? So you have the opportunity to start fresh right then in that moment.
Right.
They don't know you. They don't know your history. They only know what story you've told them. So they don't have an opinion of you.
Right.
That's good.
They don't know if you're an addict or not. But you'll find someone tell you within 2 minutes, well, you know, I'm in the program, I'm an addict. Well, now we know who you are. So, so
Now we've made a judgment.
It's removing that label,
Right.
basically.
But I mean, I give them a lot of credit to come to you, just to do that and say, I want help.
It's a huge step.
Yes.
Huge.
Absolutely.
It is a huge step.
Absolutely.
You mentioned a big secret. What is big secret?
The big secret, the secret that gets left out of all stories about the secret, and that is that we are vibrational beings.
Yep.
And everything is energy.
Okay.
And with the clients that I work with, once they start to understand that,
Yes.
they realize that they can line up with whatever they want. You know, there's this myth that once nagged, always nags, that you're the same person. Every cell in your body is coming and going constantly. So
Right.
as new cells are coming in and you're talking differently, you're training them. They all have brains. You're training them to what you want to be. And the old cells are going to die off. So it's there's a process. There's
That's
a process
great.
to
And I
it.
always tell people, like, you know, when you begin to expect, because you're expecting based on past history, and you, okay, I expect, so you take this broad vision and you narrow it down and you're focusing on seeing this, and you're blocking out everything else. So you're taking 90% of your potential or possibilities that you might see a new reality, and you're focused in on, you know, just this 10%. That's what you're going to see because you're wearing those blinders, as opposed to like taking off the blinders and looking around and seeing that you can have other realities. You can focusing on other potentials for yourself.
Carolyn May says that the number one reason why people don't heal is that they bond to the wounds of their past. So get them
yes.
out of their past as fast as possible.
That's true. That's really true. So what is Safa? Tell us
Safa.
about Safa, and you use this with your clients, and yeah.
I use Safa. It's a.
And how did you get into it and the whole thing?
On my journey,
Yeah.
I was learning more about energy work, and I had an opportunity to have some done on me, basically, and I don't get sick a whole lot, so I had to find out more about what this Safa was. But there was being taught over in Long Island. And I read about it a little bit and had a little CD on it, and I actually went and experienced it myself. And it is a Hawaiian. It's based on on Hawaiian healing from the past. It's very, very old and ancient, so it's not really new. But Safa itself was developed by Dr. Boy, she'll kill me if I don't have her name. Beth John.
Beth John, right?
Sorry, Beth. It's Beth John, and she was in very, very bad health, and she studied and learned this herself, and came up with a way of teaching it, and it's called Safa. So it's an energy healing. It can be done from a distance. With addiction, with people's biggest fear with addiction is always someone having withdrawals, and there's pain involved. So I use Safa in that to help release that pain. So it makes that transition a lot easier.
It's not hands-on healing.
It's not hands-on. No.
It's distance, or distance. When you meet in the same room,
They
or
could be in the same room. They could be in California.
okay.
Yeah.
And you do this for them.
Yes.
Okay. And do they then if they want to learn it, they can learn it themselves. Do you do it on yourself?
Yes.
Yes.
I do
Okay.
it myself also.
Okay.
It's a visioning process.
It's an energy
basically.
healing like
Yeah.
we do. We do Reiki,
Yes.
and
Yes, very
Traci
similar
does
to
some
Reiki.
other things, yeah.
Distance healing.
And we do distance and hands-on and so forth. So it's just another form like that,
And just
right?
It is.
for the viewers, you know, when people do distance healing, it's on the premise that because we're energy and vibrational beings, we're always connected. There's no separation. There's a oneness that connects us all. So the only thing that stands between, you know, us healing somebody in physical form or distance is just the distance, but that doesn't really even exist because of this oneness of energy. So whether they're right there on the table or in California, the intention, the love that you send out, the light reaches every individual, as long as that
Exactly.
intention is there.
Well said, yes.
I had read that in spirit, there's no up and down and sideways and
Right.
underneath and around. It's all one.
Well, I think for our experience as humans, we have created time and space.
Right,
But time
yeah.
and space
Right.
doesn't exist. I mean,
Exactly.
if you take that
Only
out of
in
the
our
picture and you
minds.
truly believe that, it's as if that person in California is right next to you. You know, there should be no barriers.
We
That's
created
right.
our own separateness,
Right.
you know?
We did. We did, yeah, definitely. So when that's done, you just kind of make an appointment with the person that they're going to relax, and a certain time we're going to send this healing, and that's how it works for distance healing. So just so the audience will know what that's about. But all right, so this is interesting. We had a little correspondence with Beth John, and it's a possibility she may be on the show in the future. And she said, "Oh, Larry's one of my best students." So I'm curious to know, more about that, myself. So, and how did you just get into it? You just
I align myself with the energy and in the direction that I'm going, and I just follow my vibrations. And this is what I want. This is the direction I want to go, and then things just reveal themselves.
okay, that's great.
As anyone can do.
Yep.
It's about alignment.
And it's about using our bodies and our five senses to pick up on that vibration, because, our bodies are our best barometer. I mean, we can feel, if something feels right or feels wrong for us, or if we're heading in the right direction. We feel that pull or we feel a push. And I know that I work with clients to sense that body sensations more and more, so that they feel their vibration.
I use this method in which I will have a client sitting like where you are, and I'll say, right here, there's energy between you and me. And as I keep getting closer to them and closer to them,
How does
all
it
of a sudden
feel?
they get uncomfortable when you get really close. And I said, well, now you can feel that. You can't see it, but you can feel it.
Right.
Our energies are together. So it's, and it always makes it, they're always like, yeah, I can feel that, thank you, back up.
Yeah.
But that is the connection that we all have. So with energy healing, that's what it is. You're just connecting with that,
Yeah.
and you're seeing a person whole in that work, and you allow it to happen.
Yes.
So you
So-
send them the healing vibration from you, and they feel it.
I just see it. I actually see
Just
them whole.
picture them
I
perfect.
picture
Yeah.
them
And
in the
there's,
perfection that they are.
yeah.
And did they feel anything? Did they tell you they felt anything?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. When I first learned Safa, I would just practice on people with migraine headaches, and I would literally say, they would say, "Can I have an aspirin?" And I would say, I was managing a restaurant, and they would say, I would say, "Sure. I'll tell you what. Go back to work, and if it's not gone in 5 minutes,
Oh, wow.
you let me know. I'll bring you the aspirin in 5 minutes." They said, "What are you going to do?" I said, I have this energy. I work with energy. I would love to, get rid of your
Okay.
headache for you." And 5 minutes later, they'd be like, "What did you do? What did you do?
Wow.
The migraine is gone."
That's
And
terrific.
That's awesome.
I had the experience of seeing it with my own fiance, who had a migraine and was like, she likes to see things happen, like show me first. And I said, well, I'm going to go to work. This is before I learned Safa. Actually, I went to the gym, and she was home with a migraine. And I said, call up this person. They're in Long Island, and it was Beth John's mother, and see what happens. Like after my little workout, called her back up. The headache was gone. I said, what happened? I went home and she's jumping up and down like this, shaking her head back and forth. I said, what happened? She said, it's gone. I said, how long did it take? 10 minutes to be
Yeah.
completely gone and did not come back. And that was it for me.
I think that's the
Ongoing.
important thing about energy healing, is not to, focus on like we're fixing this problem, but just to see the person as whole, see them as perfect, see them as healed and well, and that's truly what they are. I mean, everything else is just the illusion, so it's cutting through that illusion and believing it ourselves so that it's instilled in our clients, right?
Absolutely. You see it in their eyes happen. It's just amazing.
Yeah.
It's got to be very rewarding for you.
Especially with addiction, you see it. You see the change happen in someone's eyes. And it's like if someone hands you $1 million, it feels so good.
What opened up your spirituality? What started when you were young? Did you have anything like that, or how did you?
His father was a minister.
Yeah, give us a little autobiography here.
My father was a minister. My mother's father was a minister. It's a story I don't tell too much, but I'll tell the both of you.
Just tell us. Nobody else.
Nobody else is watching.
No, nobody's gonna know.
I just have always, from the time I was born, I knew I was coming here. I literally knew I was coming here. I was very aware of it. Like
Coming.
as incarnated as me.
Oh, okay.
I was like, before I just, here I go again. I've always known that.
You've had
I don't
that
know where it
knowing.
came from or how it happened. That was always it. Very similar to the healing of addiction. I knew I could heal myself. No one told me I could.
When you were young.
Right.
I
Okay.
just knew I could heal myself.
Okay.
And when I was in the midst of really bad addiction, people say, well, your addiction wasn't as bad as mine. I was $300 a day just doing crack cocaine.
Wow.
So it was bad.
That's bad.
You know. And at that point, it's like, I know I can heal myself, and I have to figure out how. And I went within and just tapped into the spirituality that I've always had, and reconnected. And and from one day to the next, it was over.
Amazing.
That's wonderful. That really is.
Yeah. And I think there's I don't know what your take on this is, but I think that there are some programs, I won't name them in particular, but that people start to identify with the program and the mentality of being a victim, and they become, there's some comfort in that initially, to know that there are others, with these same struggles and whatnot, but then they get stuck in this mode of, I'm in this group because, I'm an alcoholic, or, I'm a drug addict. And I think it serves to only reinforce that label. And they're afraid to break away from that group.
Once again,
and
if that's all you're ever talking about,
right,
you're going to get more of it. So, I've watched this happen many times where someone's, I had this flight out to California to take someone to a program, and it was like a $30,000 program. And when we met a counselor who was driving us there, he was telling us how great he had been doing. He had been 4 years clean and sober and was doing great. But he kept saying,
oh, that's
"Boy,
right.
if I ever go back to New Orleans, that's a bad place for me. That's where I grew up. I can't go back there." And sure enough, 2 years later, he went back and relapsed.
Yeah, because he spent so much time in this cushion, this protective cushion, thinking that he attributed his healing to everybody outside himself instead of himself.
And that when he got there, that would happen. So when it happens,
right.
that makes sense. That should happen.
Exactly.
Because
it's
those
like
people are gone, and that's what he's identified as healing too.
Yeah.
Wow.
Definitely.
There's so much to it. There really is. And that's the kind of thinking you have to break them from, right? That's
It
what
is, and I guess probably the real turning point for me is that trip. And I was sitting in a room with a bunch of people, and the director of the program had told me I could stay and watch the session. And I stayed there, and sure enough, it was like, you can heal, you can heal, you can heal, and the longer you stay here, the better. And I was like, wow, this guy's really, this is awesome. And then he said the magic words to me at the end, because I'd always wondered why I had to take this flight anyway, because there's always a reason for everything that you do. And he said, except for crack cocaine, it's the devil.
Wow.
And I was like, why would he tell them that?
What a
I'm
big
sitting here
judgment
saying to myself,
Whoa.
well, that can't be true.
Right.
That
It's
can't
like
be
you're
true.
excluding a whole
Yeah.
population of people who need help.
Yeah, and
And I would have been, the red flag for me would have been, the longer you stay here, the better. Just keep sending the check. The longer you stay here, the better. I tell my clients, I want you to move on. I want you
Exactly.
to not need me forever. That's
Exactly.
true healing. I should only be like some person, at your crossroads that kind of helps you move on the right path, but I shouldn't be in your life forever helping you.
It was that person who they're looking up to as an
Right.
authority, telling them that really
too bad.
enforces it. So if that is your problem,
Right.
you're basically
Forget
doomed.
it. Yeah, you're
Oh,
doomed.
wow.
You're basically kind
And
of
I
doomed.
think anybody who's has gotten to that point where their esteem is so low, they're so like children, you're so vulnerable to everything you hear because you think that everybody else is up on this platform and you're down here, so they must be telling you the truth, you know.
Yeah, you take it at their word. So much of those 66,000 thoughts that we have, we learn from someone else.
Yeah.
You know, and we hold them to be true, and we protect them like they are. That is the word. So it's really, you know, breaking down your belief system and opening up and not being attached to anything, and it just takes you to another level. I always call it, when you're talking about different programs and stuff out there, there's pilots and there's bikers. There's nothing wrong with bikers. I love riding motorcycles.
Oh, yeah. I
Okay?
ride them, too.
But here's the thing. If I want to become a pilot, I need to hang around pilots because they'll teach me how to fly.
Exactly.
The biker can't teach me how to fly. So you need to get around out of that. Sooner or later, you have to leave that tribe and go somewhere where you're going to learn something different.
Right. Which is that was my next question, is how do you help people, you know, okay, this is their world that they have created. These are the people that they associate with, and I think that's one of the hardest things. It's like, yes, they want to leave behind the addiction, but they don't want to leave behind the relationships they formed that are that actually center around that addiction, but
because it makes you feel safe. You feel safe within that
and
group.
then they have to go it alone into this other world where everybody's a stranger and they don't speak their language.
That's the hardest part.
Yeah, well, as you start to develop, as they start to develop and understand,
They want that for themselves.
Because you can send someone anywhere, and they're not going to get any better, because it isn't the place, it's the person. And once the person heals, it doesn't matter who you associate with.
Right.
One of the things I was
a lot of times it just drops away on its own too. You know,
I was always told never go back to the places where you ever coughed or anything. You can't go back there. So I went back and sat there all day. And then once that day was over, you check it off. Well, that's not true.
Wow.
So you break down
your belief system.
You empower yourself. You know, one of the best tools that I learned it from the teaching of Abraham, actually, and it was if you think of yourself as the navigation system in your car.
Oh yeah, the Magellan. I've got all their CDs.
Which is excellent.
It is.
Because, you know,
Well, explain it. Go ahead.
we can go from here, turn it to San Diego, California. We're going to get there. We just follow the directions. The navigation system never asks you how you got there.
Where you came
from, what happened to you. It's not important.
Did you take and if you take a wrong turn, they say make a legal U-turn, instead of judging you and saying, darn, you made a bad turn.
It's like you're off track, get back on track. Yeah. So that's really powerful because that's really it. That is really it. It just needs the information of where you are now and where do you want to go.
No judgments.
Exactly, no judgments at all. No judgments at all.
That's very good. That's
and
a good analogy.
The other tricky part is, which is part of the secret, is not to judge what happened to you and be mad at yourself that, all those years I spent doing that. It's history. It's over. You know, you're writing. It's like writing a book. You're writing this way. You're not writing the same book over and over again.
Yeah, well, I forget. I had heard a quote once that I often repeat about. It's not the wake that drives the boat. You know, that's behind you. It's you're the driver of the boat. You're in front. You're steering it.
Absolutely.
It's forward.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you believe that we become what we think?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thought is, I can tell where someone's going by just listening to them and what they're saying and with the word that they're using. And just gently make an adjustment to the word. You know, just making it slow, because it's hard to go from, it's really hard for someone to go from depressed to enlightenment.
Right.
It's too big of a jump.
Right.
So you just want to turn and kind of move up the emotional scale.
Yeah.
Which this great book.
Yeah. That's the Abraham Hicks too.
What's that?
The law of asking
is given, yes.
Yeah.
And power versus force.
Yes.
The other one's think by David Lachance.
Vibrational.
Where he has the vibrational scale.
Yep.
You know, where your guilt and shame are here, fear is up here, anger is even further.
Yes.
But it's better than being depressed.
Yes.
So it's okay to be angry.
I tell people that too, because
Yeah.
people are depressed and then they get angry, and that's actually energy in motion. You know, at least it's moving. Like, we're depressed, it's just you're sitting still, you're rotting. You know, like it's debilitating. But people get so afraid of the power of the anger that they're, oh, I better slip back into the depression.
Yeah,
But the
correct.
depression's so much more dangerous than the anger. If you could
Correct.
just find safe ways to work through that anger, you know.
So on the emotional scale, if someone's really angry and it's like, oh, look at their behavior, they're angry. You should have seen them earlier when they were depressed. It was a lot worse.
Yeah.
They're actually getting better.
Yeah.
So,
But anger's so outward that it scares everybody, you know, where depression isn't as scary, but it's more dangerous.
exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. Well put.
Yep.
So, do you have any little stories to tell us about anonymously? Some of your clients, some of your
Case histories.
yeah, little successes and little
I'll give
things,
you-
or
I always say that
you must
the
have
ones
some.
that I think are the most interesting ones that happen the fastest.
Right. Give us that.
I was in Fairhaven, driving around handing out my card. Sometimes you have to staple $5 to the card to get someone to take it, but
That's
you just do it. And I sat with someone who was working in the streets, and I sat with this lady for about 2.5 hours, just sitting there having coffee and talking about the same thing about empowering yourself. You can heal yourself, and that was it. Approximately 2 to 3 years later, I'm working in a restaurant, and it's New Year's Eve, and every New Year's Eve I'd always call my parents first. My parents had passed away, so I was feeling a little funny. And I was like, I don't know, I just don't feel that miracle here today of calling them up because they're kind of not here. So I went in the back room at 12 o'clock and just sat by myself in the dark, and took that about 5 minutes. When I walked back out, here's this girl, she's staring at me, and she's smiling. I said, "Do you need something?" And she says, "I'm drinking 7-Up. You don't remember me, do you? You sat with me one night and we talked. The next day I put myself into a program. I finished that. I've been sober ever since. I'm feeling great and looking totally different." And to me, it was like, well,
Wow.
it's a new year. It was
Yeah.
that. So you don't really know how you affect someone.
That's
and,
right.
So there's no judgment in it whatsoever. And the other one would be, I had a group, and in my meditation groups, I would talk about these principles of Abraham and Wayne Dyer and a lot of different tools to help people. And we go into our meditation, and there's always that one person who's just like falling out. Nodding off, he's falling out, he gets mad, he walks out of the room. And this is mandatory program, so you had to stay there. But he'd probably been in about 5 of my groups.
yeah.
About 5 of my groups before he finally got thrown out of the program. Because he left, he was in the hallway and they threw him out of the program. And I hadn't seen him for a while. So once again, I'm walking through the restaurant and I look over the table and there he is. And I recognize him and I'm like, I kind of trying to walk by him and he's like waving at me. "Hey, it's me." And I said, "How you doing?" "Great." And his family's with him, they're all smiling. And he's like, he starts quoting me verbatim. He goes, "You didn't think I was listening." And I was just like, just totally
Wow.
amazed. He listened, he heard, and he was done. He didn't need to stay there any longer. And he left and did
he
it
was
on his
like,
own.
okay, I'm ready.
Yeah,
I
like,
don't need to listen to this anymore. I
that
took a
makes
nap
sense.
now.
Yeah. Yeah, that
It
makes
wasn't
sense. I'm
being
gone.
ignorant. Yeah, it was just,
So you could never judge a situation,
Absolutely
a
not.
person, anything you see. You just never know what it is.
I believe in, like, everything's is in alignment and it's on purpose. And if you're sitting in, I used to tell people in my group, if you're sitting in this group, whether you're mandatory or not, you're here because you lined up to be here.
right.
So whatever you hear, you're supposed to hear. Whether you use it today or use it tomorrow or not, it doesn't matter. You're supposed to be here, or you wouldn't have heard it. So there's no judgment in it at all.
Right.
I just say what I say.
And there's no chance encounters.
Yeah, sometimes we get caught up in, those of us who teach, in outcome. We do. I know, myself I have. Oh, I didn't get through to them. Oh, they didn't change it, or they didn't this, and something like that. But you never know down the road.
It could just be that little seed is planted.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
Later on,
And it has
Going
come back to
wildly.
me.
Yeah.
And I was like shocked when a client would go, I'd run into them at the store and they hadn't been back. And all these things that, they've learned and I've changed my life and this, and I'm going, oh, thank you so much. I needed that. Every once in a while, you feels good to hear that kind of thing,
And I think you need to take the ego out of it, because I'll tell people right away the same thing you said. This is your path, and this is your path, and this, like, everybody's path is different. And I'll tell people, I'm glad you're here. You've decided to give this a try. You try it. If it's not for you, then it's not for you. You'll go on. You'll search for something else, and eventually you'll find what works for you.
Exactly. That's
And you
it,
have
exactly.
to take that. You just have to be that cheerleader for their healing. You can do it, even whether it's through me or somebody else. Yeah.
I often sometimes run into families and they get disappointed if I tell them, well, they don't want to do this right now. That's okay. That's where they are.
Right.
They're on their journey and they're not ready to do this. So,
Yes.
and it's okay. And I don't feel bad about it. It's just that's where they are on their journey.
And if you're confident, knowing that we are always evolving, we are always growing, so the pace doesn't matter. Somebody could be like looking like they're dragging their feet and then have some huge leap of consciousness overnight, and they could surpass what you think your level of consciousness is and be your teacher the next day. It's amazing.
Their behavior is them actually asking.
Yes.
It's their own spirit actually asking.
Right.
And it's just acting it out in that way.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to put something to you and see what you think or how you feel. It was said to me by some students. I also teach spirituality, counselor and so forth. And it was put to me by students when I mentioned a problem that I had. You have a problem? Oh, I thought you were there. You're all together and you're there and I said, no. I said, how do you think that I'm able to keep on teaching? I'm learning as I'm teaching you. And I have my demons, and I have my little fights that I have to do with myself, and I have my times when I'm down and up and so forth. But if I didn't have that,
Absolutely.
how would I know how you feel? What do you think?
Very much so.
Feel the same way,
Very
right?
much so. I in the groups that I was doing at one time, I was also a manager of a restaurant. So, and I was in charge of the restaurant at the time, and I would have to, occasionally have to let someone go. Just part of the job that I was doing at that time.
Wow.
And people in my group, after being around me, they must have said, oh, I bet you told that person about their journey and how good they're moving on to the new journey. I was like, well, it didn't go quite like that. There's parts of your life that are difficult and that you're going to have to deal with, and they're all learning experiences.
Yes.
And the more I catch myself feeling irritated or something like that, or something comes up as a problem, I go, okay, what am I supposed to figure out here?
Right.
Why, there's something here for me.
It's a signal.
Yeah, and
Stop.
I get calm. I don't get into an argument or anything. I just get calm.
Yep.
We're always learning. Teachers are always learning.
Yeah.
And sometimes we're the teacher and sometimes we're the student.
Yeah.
And I think
Right.
I've
Definitely.
mentioned this before too. I think that if when we were talking about karma earlier, about if you have made certain choices prior to even coming into this life, that I'm going to go through all these hardships so that I can teach, so that I can become more compassionate, so that I can be a light shower or help people find their path, because I had to go through it. I had to struggle through it. And I often find that people who come to me, it's like, oh, I just learned that lesson last month, you know what I mean? And I've processed it and I've worked through it. So here you are showing me, that it's time to teach it, It happens so often.
Yeah.
It's like whack,
It was so interesting when you opened up your show today with that question, which is just a dynamite question, and you're right, it's so vast of an answer. But and I was really taken by it, because I often get the same question, and that comes up a lot. And
Right.
there's just so many answers to it, but one of the things is that I just heard this today, matter of fact, was that people that are in a bad situation health-wise when they're born, or whether it's disabled, those are divine masters.
Yes.
They've chosen that.
Yeah. Imagine
to
taking
teach,
that
yeah,
on.
To actually take that on and not to conform to what everyone else wants.
Right.
They are great teachers and masters.
Absolutely. It's a gift. It's a gift for the rest of us. I mean,
That's why we can never judge, because we really don't know what their agenda is, what they came for, what they're supposed to do. We can never judge anyone. We do not know.
so we'll be wrapping up soon. So we wanted to get some kind
Yeah,
of
we've got a couple of minutes left.
last thoughts that you have,
That
or
you have,
inspirations for the
Tell the
viewers
people.
out there.
It's just that everybody has the same ability to heal, which I think is really important to understand. You often hear people say, "Well, yeah, you could do it, but not me." And if there's a divine source or God or whatever you want to call it, and we're all three of us sitting here, and He's going to give it to me, and not give
Why
it to
would he,
you, and not give
deny
it to
it
you,
for somebody else?
doesn't make sense whatsoever. So we all have that ability to heal and go within and reconnect with Source. I think that's the most important part.
Absolutely. And I was reading a little Ernest Holmes today. Have you read anything by Ernest Holmes? Science of the Mind. About how it's a law. It's like the law of attraction or the law of gravity. There's no judgment there. It's just about the aligning and knowing that there's no separation from your source. Once you're in perfect alignment, all of it comes to you. So, there's no favoritism, no judgment, no like you're bad and you did this so you can't have this healing, and you worked a little harder so you can. It's just that recognition that you are in the divine source, and the divine source is within you, and you're aligned, and
Asking
and
it is given.
Asking is given.
Absolutely.
They say there's no bad people, just people that do bad acts once in a while. That's all there is to it.
Make mistakes.
But there's no bad, there's no good. We're all good. We're all in it together.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we have
right.
to thank you for coming.
Thank you.
And
My
Larry,
absolute
I
pleasure.
think that
Thank you
you're
so
just
much.
wonderful.
Yes.
The work
Thank you
that
so
you
much.
do, it's just wonderful.
Absolutely.
I'm so glad to have met you. I'm so glad that you saw our show, you called. That was wonderful.
Well, it's an honor to be
Synchronicity
here.
at
Thank
work.
you.
Yes, meant to be. Meant to be,
Absolutely.
exactly.
So I think we're going to flip to some of our information here for you.
To get in touch with Larry.
This is Larry's information, and his organization is Insight Alternative Addiction Healing. You can reach him at 203-804-1380. And you can email him at wld169@aol.com.
Correct.
Okay, and you can email us your questions at healoutsidethebox@yahoo.com. For show schedules, you can visit either Traci or myself at www.rosemarylachance.com or Traci at www.entirebeing.com.
If you wish to reach us by phone, Rosemary's number is 203-627-7966, and my number is 203-232-3405. And if you'd like to get any copy of the shows that you've seen or have missed in the past, please visit one of our websites for more details. And there are our two websites again for you. Okay, so we're going to leave you with our quote,
Yes,
right?
I'm going to read you the quote now from our Book of Courage by Hans Wilhelm. And tonight's quote is,
Yep, this one here.
"We are the only ones who can do anything about our life experience. Nobody else can contain their behavior so that we will feel better. We are the only ones who have that power."
Right. Power within. Thank you.
Thank you so much for
Thanks for
joining us.
joining
We'll
us.
see you next time. Good night.
Good night.
As you look out through the window to the world you have made, always know you are the vision. See the truth, darkness fade.
We get
I'll be
together
talking
as
to
a
Beth
team.
John too, because she's dynamite.
Yeah, we're gonna
Yeah,
have her on our
yeah.
show probably in March.